So at 15 up to 1640. So it will be an essay questions. Yeah. It can be 4 or 5 numbers. So what you have to pay attention is for essay question, so you should elaborate like writing a short essay. So at least you have to write one fact paragraph, yeah, one fact paragraph. So there is a thin paragraph. It can be like 6 or 7, but it should be enough to to illustrate or to elaborate in your answers. So also pay attention to the points. Let's say like besides explaining, also like you should give illustration or examples, or let's say like whether it is compare and contrast, or so you should meet the points. Yeah. So you should what elaborate any points as in the question, the as in the every number. So don't miss any numbers. Let's say if there are 5 numbers and then you miss one number, so you will get disadvantage, meaning your score will be lower. No score at all if you keep it blank. Yeah. So let's say you answer 3 numbers instead of 4 or 5, and then you will get maximum score for each number, let's say 25 or 20. So you will just get around 75, meaning it is not yet A. That is for the what mid-test, yeah, UTS. And the question will cover from the chapters we have discussed so far. So let's say like from chapter 1 to chapter 5. Also you can refer to the exercises. Yeah, so as usual, like in the previous mid-test, previous semester, so the question will be uploaded the 5 minutes before the schedule, yeah, before 15, yeah, 15. Okay, any questions from the mid-test?
Sir, means we need to attend all of the questions.
Sorry?
Sir, means we need to attend all of the questions. 5 questions or 4, whatever you
Yeah,
give
so
it.
you have to do the whole questions. Don't miss any numbers, any questions. So let's say 4 questions and then don't
But
miss.
sir,
Yeah.
but sir, choice is necessary. Make more questions and give us options
And then
also.
you can, yeah, okay, I'll consider your uh, your suggestion, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, and any other comments?
Yes, but please, I'd like to ask about the time of the exam.
Use
Waktunya gimana? Maksud saya,
waktunya, ya.
iya.
How many it is for Yeah, 100 minutes. Yeah. So it is like yeah in the classroom for one session. Yeah. So if you have any problem, and then you can report to me just about have a technical problem in submitting your answers. So it will be uploaded in the MS Teams and the assignment. Yeah, assignment. So I write the TS and the question and the assignment, and then you are supposed to submit also and the assignment. So just as you did last semester.
Yes, Bob. Inshallah.
Yeah.
We're just worried that 100 minutes might be not enough because there are 5 questions. Do you think this time will be enough, Bob?
Yeah. So if I consider the suggestion about, I'll make more questions, then you can select four of the 7 questions. But the problem if I use like drew 4 out of 7 questions or 5 out of 7 questions, and a few students will do the whole questions. That is the misunderstanding, as usually they do in the. So, but be careful, meaning if you are instructed to do only 4 questions, just 4 questions, so you select from, let's say, 7 or 8 questions. So you have some choices to do, meaning, so one, it is according to the one's preference about. So perhaps you you like or you masters some issues, but also you don't like or you don't master other issues. That is quite common because it's not possible to know everything. Meaning
Yes.
but please read again the chapters 1 to 5. Yeah, the chapter 5, and also the questions. Yeah.
But I just want to ask you something about the. Just would you please scan the code for all of us because we couldn't scan it, all of us.
Yeah, just a moment, please, for the
Yes, yes. Take your
most
time. Thank you so
calling.
much.
Yeah, most calling. Repeat, please. And Farooq, your questions?
No, but I was just telling you that we tried to scan the code. Everybody, we couldn't scan it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Would
okay.
you please help us with that?
I'll check again using
Yeah, thank you so much.
yeah. Okay, and the second thing about your assignment. So I suppose I have uploaded the assignment. So there are 2 types. File A, that is you are writing an article, and then you can choose I don't know, one of the topics listed in the assignment, or and then the format. So you could use, let's say, like the Paro journal or any journal any journal format will do, meaning that you so around 1,500 words or around 10 pages, and so it will be submitted on the second meeting of the second half of the semester, right? And then the second assignment will be teaching practice, yeah, and it will be recorded in the form of micro teaching, meaning teaching each other, or if you have your own students, so you can use your own students. If you don't have any students, and then you can teach each other, meaning the micro teaching based on the guidelines. So I'll explain further in the after UTS, yeah, after mid test. So UTS will be from, from 4th April up to the 8th April, yeah, for 1 week, I suppose.
Sir, I have a request. Can you please give us more time to complete our assignment? Because when we start writing our assignments, we find so much difficulty while searching the material or while writing it.
Yeah.
Because it's somehow confusing. That's why we lose our grades and so on. We have attended all the classes, but at the day of exam, we fail because of shortage of time. So please give us more time.
So which one? The first assignment or
Both assignments.
no? The first assignment will be on the second meeting of second half, meaning the week 10, yeah, week 10, and then the second assignment will be at the end of the semester.
Yes, sir.
That
I'm
is
asking about
the
both assignments,
yeah.
both
So the
papers.
problem will be after what after the session or after the final test. So the teachers should correct, yeah, all the answers, the assignment to be collected. Uh, so I couldn't catch up with the time because I have to correct the during the holiday, during yeah after the end of the whole examinations, yeah. So the class will end in what at the beginning of June, and then you have 2 weeks for final test was, and then the teachers will be given 1 week for correcting the whole assignments, the whole what results or answers of the final examinations or the final test. Okay, try to do your best because it is already scheduled, meaning the so for the article it will be only around 10 pages, meaning can be less, can be more, but not too much, meaning like 8 pages or 11, but not 20 pages or not 4 pages. So please try to meet the guidelines. That is the best to do for you. So read again the guidelines of the assignment also for the micro teaching so that you can get the whole picture. So in the second half, I'll explain the guidelines so that it will be, yeah, so you can have more understanding also to avoid any misunderstanding in doing the micro teaching. Okay, so now we have the last group to present chapter 5 by siapa itu ya, saya lupa namanya. Who is the group to present chapter 5?
It's Stella and Hazel.
Yeah. Okay, please prepare for the slides.
Okay. Are the slides visible?
Yeah, okay, and I could see on the
Yes.
screen.
Okay. Shall we begin?
Yeah, okay. You could start now.
Yes. So like for today, we're gonna present about the style and strategy, the learning style and learning strategy. So for the very first part, style, I'm gonna present, and then for the next part, the strategy, Stella will present it. So now let me start with the style. So what is the style? Whenever we said the style is okay, everyone have their own district style because like they have already consistency and then also the enduring tendency and then also preference based on the individual and then also they also have their own style and then the style can differentiate you from the other people and then also we can also see the all the styles are happening based on your feeling and then also your thought your thinking your thought uh, so that is how we understand about the style. But in here, the style, what we're gonna say is that learning style. Yes, next slide, please. So learning style. So what is a learning style? Like I told in the previous slide, everyone have their own style. So in learning also, everyone have different learning style. For example, for me, I'm a night owl person. Even though I'm studying for the whole day long, I can't absorb anything. I can't even study one paragraph in the whole day. However, if that is at night, within like kind of like 2 a.m. to the 4 a.m., 5 a.m., on that only that 3 hour, I can finish studying maybe 4 to 5 paragraphs. So that is a totally high difference. So that is my style. Of course, whenever I tell about that to the other people are thinking like, "Oh my God, that's gonna be not good for your health." They always said like that. My parents, my relative, they are also saying like, "If you're gonna keep doing that, that's gonna be really worse for you." But if I don't study like that, I can't absorb anything. So that's why we can say that is a style is different based on the individual. So to make it really, really easier, we can start by differentiate ourselves. Are we a left brain style or the right brain style? So what is left brain? It's really practical and logical. Focus only on an important detail when you are doing one thing. But for the right brain, it's really like to empathize other and then also like use numerous alternative. Even if there is a problem, but still we try to find the alternative strategy. For example, okay, for example, you are at the airport, and then the airport is like they announce their airplane will be late due to the maybe unstable the weather condition, those kind of situation. That at that time, the left brain style will be thinking like, why? Because like they are only focused on the important detail. Okay, if this flight was delayed, then what should they do? And they are like they might be kind of like complaint, and then like they will try to rearrange their schedule since they are gonna be late on their trip like that. But for the right way is they like to empathize others. Okay, there might be any other problem. Or like now, since it's gonna be late, shall I go with the bus or shall I try to go with the express? Those kind of way that they will try to find a different way. So that is the difference between left brain and a right brain. So right brain is try to find different way, but for the left brain, they only focus on the major one like that. So now let's go to the next slide. On the next slide is that they are trying to, yes, next slide please, Taylor. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, please move the PowerPoint.
Yes,
Please
is
carry
I
this
on.
need
this one
to.
or this one?
Okay, okay, yes, yes. Oh,
Which one?
number
This
4.
one.
Slide 4, please. Thank you, Stella.
Okay.
So here are the characteristics of the left and the right brain. So like just by looking at this table, you can also differentiate yourself. Are you a left brain person or a right brain person? Of course, like whenever we say, is that only my left brain is working? Is that only my right brain is not working? No, it's not like that. Both of them are working together. However, they are influenced. Left brain influence more and the right brain influence more, those kind of pattern. So, oh, But left brain person can really control their feeling really well. But for the right brain person, they are more free with the feeling. So they don't control how they feel. So for me, I think I'm the left brain dominant person. I whenever there is something, I like to plan first instead of following on my feeling. I like to plan everything first. Is this one, that kind of person. So like, the best way to differentiate yourself is based on your feeling. Whenever you have to do something, do you always follow your feeling, or do you try to control yourself and then just only choosing what you should do? Like, do you do always what you want to do, or do you follow what you have to do? By based on that, you can differentiate yourself. For me, I'm a left brain dominant person. Yeah. Okay, so now let's go to the next slide. Slide number 5, please. Number 5, please. Thank you. Okay, so now we have talked about the two different styles, left brain and a right brain. Now it's another way. So then what's that? That is the ambiguity tolerance and the ambiguity intolerance. So you can also see in the title, tolerance and intolerance. So just by that word, explain what kind of learning style is that. So the one ambiguity tolerant is always cognitively not willing to tolerate ideas, and then also the proposition that run counter to your own belief system or the structure of the knowledge. And then also they are really open-minded in accepting ideologies and events and facts that contradict their own views. And the fourth ambiguity intolerant is they are really close-minded and dogmatic, and then tend to reject the ideas that are contradictory or slightly incongruous with their existing system. And another one is wish to see every position fit into an acceptable place. So to give an example, for the ambiguity tolerant is more like mm, how can I say? For if that is a learner, when we are making a discussion, like kind of like a role play, or we are putting them into the group and then let them discuss about the one topic, and they are saying like, okay, so maybe they are kind of the topic, they are thinking like the right side of the topic. They think like, okay, this one is agreeable. But if the other people is saying, oh, I don't think so. I think your opinion is not okay for me. I think the opinion is the other way. So like in this kind of situation, for the ambiguity tolerant student, they will like willingly accept it. Oh, of course, you might have a different opinion. I can understand it. But for the ambiguity intolerant person, the student, they will be like, no, you're not, is totally wrong because that is blah, 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 and then like they will give a lot of different opinions and then trying to build up the like different reasons to be able to give up. So like that is a difference between them. So the person who has a really strong determination about their own opinion and are really close-minded and then don't give any other chance to the other people to share their idea, that is intolerant person. So of course, both of them have advantages and disadvantages. I'm like, however, we can see it well. So before we look at the advantages and disadvantages of that, we're gonna take a look at that cognitive style. Can you please go to the next slide? Thank you. So here, so cognitive style is also one of the style. So that one is that we call it specifically related to an educational context where affective and physiological factor are intermingled, and then usually more generally referred to as a learning style. So because all the learning style are mediated between emotion and cognition, so you can also see in the previous four ways, they all are based on your feeling, like the left brain and the right brain also. I tell that the easiest way to differentiate is, do you follow your feeling or do you control your feeling? And then also ambiguity tolerant and ambiguity intolerant also just like that. Do you willingly accept the other people's opinion, or is the student is not willingly accept the other people's opinion, open-minded or closed-minded? They are also based on the feeling and then also their cognition. So that's why we also call it that is a cognitive style. So in here is you can see the ambiguity tolerance advantages and disadvantages. Of course, since he can accept everything, so free to entertain a number of innovative and creative possibility. because that student will be willing to listen other people's opinion, whatever it is. They just gonna be say like a yes and accept it. So like it means they can embed their horizons, and then also not cognitively or effectively disturbed by ambiguity or the uncertainty. Like they won't have any ambiguity to uncertainty, whatever it is. There's gonna be like it won't affect you them directly. But then, what are the disadvantages? Of course, it's gonna be wishy-washy. Wishy-washy mean like totally complicated because they accept all the different idea. So like it mean like sometimes it might happening like they won't have the specific destination. That kind of problem I have, and it might not be effectively integrated into the whole system, and then will go down in meaningless track line by road. So of course they might be followed by the land by road because they don't have the specific learning style, and then they are just only accept whatever it is. So like even though that is not a correct learning style for them, they might accept it. So and then what might be the problem? Mm, their learning won't be able to improve as much as they should. That's gonna be the advantages and disadvantages of ambiguity tolerant. So now then let's go to the next slide. Another one is advantages and disadvantages of ambiguity intolerance. Oh, so what is the advantage? Of course, they won't be the wishy-washiness at all because they have already have a strong one. And then close off the venue of the hopeless possibility. Reject entirely contractual material. Reject everything. Deal with the reality of the system. Sorry. And then disadvantages. The disadvantage is going to be the rigid, dominant, or burden mind because they are really, really narrow to be creative. And then how, to be honest, I think this one will be harmful in the second language learning because second language learning, just like a title, we have already absorbed the first language in our mind. Then, for example, in my language, our language, my sentence structure is the subject, object, and verb. If I am an ambiguity intolerant and I just keep thinking like all the sentences have to be structured like that, then when I learn the English, I just keep thinking like, okay, no subject sentence structure is only subject, object, and verb. Then I won't be able to improve my English at all. So that's the example of the disadvantages of the ambiguity intolerance. Okay, so now let's go to the next slide. So in next slide is that there are another style. So this another slide is impulsive person and reflective person. So what does that mean? Impulsive is a person who tend to make quick or gambling guess at an answer to a problem, and a reflective person tend to make a slower, more calculated decision. Okay, so now, sorry. So let's go to the next slide. So like but for this style has a really environmental influence. For example, even though the student is don't it's like they are not still not sure are they the reflective or the impulsive, if they are placed with a reflective teacher, and then in the text they will get a score more reflectivity at the end of the year. And then also for the student who are with the impulsive teacher, they will score higher level in the impulsivity at the end of the year. So among all the different styles, these two styles have a really strong environmental influence. And so for those two is that kind of like we can say um, guessing the student who like to guess their answer, and then the student who like to calculate everything, even though they get to know like okay this one might be answer. Then for the impulsive they just gone sorry yeah for their uh impulsive, yeah, for the impulsive, they were just kind of like, okay, I think this one is the answer, deal, and then they will choose it. But for the reflexive, like, they're gonna be like, even though I think this one is the answer, let me calculate first. That kind of students. So that is the difference between impulsive and reflective. Okay, so now let's go to the next slide. So starting from the next slide, the learning style is that we have already familiar, we have already heard that visual learner, auditory learner, and then also the kinetic learner. So let's start. So what is a visual learner? Of course, they learn by the reading or seeing the picture, just like the word visual. And then they like to understand and remember things by sight. Picture that they are learning in their heart and then learn first by using the method that are primarily visual, like to see what they are learning. For example, for the visual learner, it will be the best for to let them study the vocabulary by using the flashcard, that kind of person. So by seeing the flashcard, then like they will be able to memorize it well. So and then after that, we will go to another slide, auditory style. So for the auditory is that hearing, like the audit. Learn by the hearing and listening and then understand and remember things, what I have heard, and then store information by the way it sounds. Have an easier time understanding spoken instruction than written one. Often learn by reading out loud. So for the auditory style is those learners will learn the vocabulary by reading out loud, because like by reading out loud they will hear their sound back and then they are trying to learn it. For me, I'm the auditory style. That's why whenever I have to study or whenever I have to read a passage or journal, whatever it is, I need to read it out. If not, even if I'm reading, I can't absorb anything. Nothing come into my brain, and I just have to keep reading. I read out loud. If not, it's not working well, that kind of person. Okay, so let's go to another style. This one is a kinetic. So for this one is that learn by touching and doing. Understand and remember things through the physical movement, prefer to touch, move, build, and draw what you learn, and then learn better when some type of the physical activity is involved. Often speak with your hand and with gesture. So for this kind of students, the learner, they have it is the best for them to learn the vocabulary or whatever it is by using their physical game, or maybe like an action, like kind of like a Pictionary. Those kind of game is help them a lot to be able to memorize the vocabulary. So then how can we decide what kind of students are they? From the side of the teacher, we can we can use those different activity. So like for example, in the first class, you can use the graph or illustration, PowerPoint, picture, and video articles. And then also another one-on-one conversation, podcast, group discussion, or a presentation video. And then the last one is that kind of activity, working meeting, and then role playing and note taking. By doing that, and then you can observe the students how they react to those activity, and then by looking at their response, like do they become more active or do they become innovative? Based on that, we can decide are they visual learner, auditory learner, or the kinetic learners. Okay, then so let's go to the next slide. The next one is the autonomy, awareness, and actions. So for this one is also a part of a style, but these three is becoming kind of like step by steps. So what is autonomy? Initiate oral production, and then after that you need to solve the problem and then practice the language form, practice using language outside the class. By encouraging these four things, we can enhance the autonomy sense of the language learning for the from the side of the student. And the awareness, we also the learner also need to be aware, like they are learning process by themselves. In that way, by awareness, like kind of okay, I still need to improve in reading, I still need to improve in writing, those kind of awareness will help them to learn to use their target language. And then also the action is the really important one. Action means you need to use it physically or mentally. Even if you are learning a language, even though that is a foreign language or second language, whatever language is that, if you don't learn, if you don't use it, if you don't learn may enter in the second language acquisition. So among these three, the action step is the kind of most important. But to be able to add out, of course, we also need awareness and then also autonomy. That one is going to be the enforced by the teacher. So these three steps are also really important. So now I have presented about the different styles. So however, even though there are many different styles, we can only use all the strategy right away. So then Stella will keep and explaining about the strategy that we have to use based on the students. So Stella, now's yours.
Okay, thank you, Hazel. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, Stella, I can hear you well.
Okay, yeah. So Hazel was presenting on the styles. So I'll be presenting on the strategies now. And we'll see that strategies are specific attacks that we make on a given problem. The techniques we employ so that we can help in second language learning. So we have two most important things. That we have something called the input and the output. We shall come and discuss it later. We again told that strategies are conscious and they're goal driven. So this is something we'll see when it comes to discussing each of them. Now, we learned that there are two types of strategies. We have the learning strategies and the communication strategies. Now, the learning ones, these ones have to do with input. This is why I said these words are very important because the input is what is getting in layman's language. So it has to do the processing, the storage, retrieving, taking in the messages, and all that. So that is the first strategy. And then number two, it's the communication. Now, that one is the output, what is coming out. So how do we produce or how do we express meaning? How is message or a particular message delivered to others? So those are the two strategies we're going to look at in this next part. But before we do that, we must ask ourselves, for a good language learner, what are some of the features or the characteristics they have? So as I read them, you'll also compare, because we have at some point learned second language or other languages. So just compare that you're a good learner going by these 14 steps that were given by Rubin and Thompson, 1982. So number one, a good language learner, they have to find their own way of taking charge of their learning. Number two, they organize information about language. The other one is that they're creative. And this creativity is they're able to experiment with grammar and even with words. The other one is that they make their own opportunities for practice. Yes. So they can practice that language, whether they're inside the classroom or even outside the class after they've been taught. Then number five, they learn to live with uncertainties. So here they know that they don't have to understand every word, at a go. You don't have to understand that this is the meaning of this word, but they can live with that. They know that at least I have learned something. I don't have to learn everything. Then number six, this one, yes, use of mnemonics and other memory strategies. These ones helps them to remember. You are learning a new language. It's definitely you not learn everything, but you might even forget. So mnemonics are very important, and also strategies that will help in recalling. Then they make errors. Yes, that's one thing. But these errors work for them, not against them. So they use these errors so that they can learn more. So that's something. Those are the first 7 characteristics of a language learner. The others, number 8, they're able to use linguistic knowledge. Now, what does that mean? They have knowledge of their first language. For example, they know that this is a cup, in my language, this is how a cup looks. So they're able now to use that knowledge to employ it in learning the second language. Number 9, there is use of contextual cues. Now, these contextual cues, let me give an example. For example, a learner is reading a book, and then in the book there's a picture there. They don't know the word, they don't know the meaning, the word in the second language, but they can see a picture. Let's say it's a picture of a cup, and it's there, so they can look at the picture and know that this one is a cup from their first language. So they both know to learn that if I see an image like this, I know that we call this a cup. So that is contextual cues. Again, number 10, a good learner will learn to make intelligent guesses. Yes, this is very important because you have to know this one could mean this. Then the other one is that they learn chunks of language as wholes and formalized routines so that they're able to perform beyond their competence. Yes, they learn the entire language. They don't stop at some point. Then number 12, they have to learn certain tricks. to help keep conversation going. Yeah, this is true. I know even at some point, if you're using a foreign language, you have had to employ some tricks. Maybe we'll come and discuss some of these tricks that are used. Sometimes you might want to avoid a topic because if you talk about it, you'll get stuck. Sometimes you might want to compensate. So we'll also see how do you compensate, which are the words you'd use. Then the other one is that a good learner will have some production strategies to fill in the gaps. Yes, which are some of the words they could use. For example, you're speaking in a foreign language, but you don't know the word itself. So you'd say, if you want to describe maybe a cup, you don't know what a cup is called, you'd say that's something we use to drink water from, or tea or whatever from, or coffee from. So those are some of the strategies you could employ, or a good language learner could employ. Then the last one, according to Rubin and Thompson, is that a good language learner will learn different styles of speech and writing so that now they can vary when it comes to the language. They know that if it is a formal situation, I'm supposed to use this kind of speech, I'm supposed to use this kind of writing. If it's an informal setting, I can use this other kind. So these are some of the characteristics of a good language learner. So I'm sure even you at some point you have used some of these strategies. So we'll begin with the first one. The first one is the learning strategy. Remember we said we have two. We have learning and communication. And you said that learning is not the input, what is coming in. So we classify this into, or they're classified into three categories. We have the metacognitive, we have the cognitive, and the socio-affective. And you heard that the metacognitive one, this one is now when you're planning for learning, you're thinking about that learning process, and even you're monitoring how you're producing or you're comprehending an activity, a learning activity, how it is going on. We shall come and see these activities that are metacognitive in nature. Then you have the cognitive ones. These ones have to do with the specific learning task. So again, we shall come and see some of these tasks that a learner sometimes has to, strategies they have to use for them to learn. And then you have the social affective. So these ones have to do the social mediating activity and how they interact with others. So we shall come and see each what happens in these activities. So the first one, we'll discuss the metacognitive ones first. So we said these ones have to do the planning of the learning itself, the learning activity. So these are some of the procedures or some of the tasks you'll find there. We have those ones who are advanced organizers. So again, you have to check with yourself and maybe with your learners whether you have such kind of learners here. So these ones, advanced organizers, they'll make a general but comprehensive preview of the anticipated learning activity. So they already have had a prior planning. So they planned it earlier. Then you have those ones who are in the directed attention. So these ones again decide in advance of the learning task. And what they do is that they ignore any detractors. So they know that I want to learn, so this is how I'm going to put all my effort and everything here. And then you have those ones who are selective attention. So these ones attend to a specific aspect of language input. So for them, they just want to retain a particular aspect of language. So they are very selective. And then you have the self-management. These ones understand the conditions that help one learn and arrange the presence of those conditions. So yes, they're able to manage themselves well. Still, a continuation of such kind of metacognitive strategies. We have the functional ones. These ones, they plan, they even rehearse. Then you have the self-monitoring. These ones correct one's speech for accuracy. So here it is these are persons, they themselves, the learners themselves. They look at their pronunciation, their grammar, how are they, even people who they are learning with, or other people. So even to other people who are present. And then you have the delayed production. So these ones consciously decide to postpone speaking in order to learn initially through listening comprehension. And the last one, under the metacognitive one, is the self-evaluation. They check their own language and they have now put it against measures of completeness and accuracy. So they are evaluating themselves, whether is this what I'm learning appropriate. So that is about the metacognitive. Then you have now the cognitive. So these are some of the tasks that might be done while a learner is going on with the cognitive strategies. One is a repetition. I'm sure even you as learners at some point in your life, or even with your learners, you might have had this strategy. One is a repetition. So you imitate a language model. Sometimes you even have to do some silent rehearsals. So again, resourcing. You use some reference materials. Yes, you want to learn more, so you have to get some reference materials. Then you have translation. So this one we already know. Yes, sometimes you have to use information from your first language so that you can understand the second one. And then you have grouping. So this one you classify, you order, you sometimes label materials according to the common attributes. What is common about them? For example, if these are clothes, they have different names, so you can put them together. You group. These ones are utensils. These ones are stationaries. So you put them together. The one is note taking. This one almost everyone has done. Then there's deduction. This one is applying rules so that you can produce and understand the second language. Going on with the cognitive strategies. Yes, these are others. We have a recombination. So here you construct a sentence in a new way. We have also imagery. Again, you use some visual images that you know for you to retrieve that knowledge. Then you have auditory representations. So here it has to do with you retain a sound or a similar sound. How are they? Keywords, you check which are some of the keywords, and then you have contextualization. So all these are some of the strategies that we can or learners use when it comes to second language learning. And then we have the last three. We have elaboration, we have transfer, and inferencing. All these are concepts that have to do with cognitive strategies. Now, after that, we have the social affective strategies now. So these ones now have to do with, the first one is cooperation. So here it's one or more peers. So these are learners. For them now, they are able to cooperate with each other for them to get information about a language. And then sometimes we have question for clarification. Yes, these where maybe you can find a learner asking a teacher or even a native speaker. You can ask them to repeat, to paraphrase, to explain, or even to give examples. So these are some of the strategies learners will use. So I've been discussing learning strategies. These have to do with input. So what happens when a learner is inputting or is getting in or is learning a new language? So in the next one, we shall look at the communication strategies. So these one now have to do with the output. So they've learned. So how do they produce that language? So again, here we have it has to do with verbal and non-verbal mechanisms. And learners or any person who is learning a second language, or yes, from their first language, any language, they tend to use two strategies. One is the avoidance, and two, it's the compensatory. So we shall come and look at the two. What has to do with the two? The first one is the avoidance. Yes, and I'm sure even us who have learned a second language, we have used this technique very many times. The first one is the message abandonment. So here you leave a message unfinished because of a language difficulty. You know, you're speaking and then you're like, I don't know what to feel next, so I'll just leave it. So you're saying something and at the middle you're like, you change the topic or you don't talk about it anymore. So that has to do with you leave the message. Then the one is the topic avoider. avoidance. Now here, topic avoidance has to do with you avoiding the topic area. Because, if I talk about that topic in that foreign or in that second language, I'll not complete it. I'll not know how to end it. So what as a learner I'll do, I'll not talk about it at all. So that's one. Then you have the compensatory strategies. This one you compensate because you know that at some point maybe you are not able to know to have. Of course, when you're learning a second language or a learner is learning a second language, they're not able to know all the words. So what they do sometimes, if they don't avoid, they compensate. So we have the strategies they use. One is circumlocution. This one has to do with describing or explaining the target object of action. I'm sure even us have done this. For example, the thing you open bottles with, you don't know it's called a corkscrew. So you simply say, I want that thing you open bottles with. So what you're doing is you're circumlocuting. Again, you can approximate. This one you can use an alternative. You can see like, you know that you have seen a ship, but you don't know, people call it a sailboat. But the design is like a ship. So you'll say, I saw a ship, and maybe it could be a sailboat. The other one is use all-purpose words. Yes. So here you find that because you're lacking the specific word for that word, sometimes you have to extend to the general meaning. For example, you can say the use of the use of thing. I want that thing. I went to that, thing. The word thing is mostly used by people. Stuff, give me the stuff. I found the stuff boring. It could be a meaningful, that stuff could be something. And some people also say, what do you call it? I saw, what do you call it? So there you're using an all-purpose word. The one is word coinage. Yes. Here you create an existing language 2 word. So for example, you might find someone saying a vegetarian when they mean a vegetarian, So you just want to compensate because you might find some challenges when it comes to the second language. The one is use of memorized stock phrases. These ones are used, we call them fabricated patterns. For example, when you say, where is the, or comment allez-vous? I don't know, I don't speak French, but I think that is, this one has to do with French. Yes, so where is the, so in that case, when you say where is the, someone might guess what you're trying to ask for, and they might fill in for you. So you're trying to compensate. The other strategies, non-linguistic signals. I know most of you have used this. You might mime, you might gesture, you might use a facial expression. Yes. So for example, you don't know what you call a thing, but you go point and it will be given to you and all that. Or you gesture. For example, if you want to show that you want to, maybe you want to do what? You want to buy something, is that gesture you might use, and then the person will know, and you'll have compensated. The other one is translation. This one most people have done. Foreignizing, yes. This is where you find that you're using a word from your L1 and you are putting it into the L2. For example, you might find that like a word, you don't know how you call it in the L2. So what you do is you pick it from your L1 and put it there, and then you might even add a suffix to it that is in L2. For example, in my country, people have a very funny. They just, when they want to say a person is coming or they are going somewhere, the word is kuja, so they say kujaing. That ing there is the English suffix that has been added. Then you have code switching. Yes, also we find that we find that L1 is being put into while speaking, you can find that it is occurring in the L2. And even some people again appeal for help. So sometimes when a person is speaking and they don't know what is the next word they're going to say, you might find somehow directly or even indirectly, they'll ask for help. For example, they'll say, what do you call it? How do you call this? Or sometimes they will have an eye contact or they'll have a puzzled expression. And then from there, you'll know that it is you as the teacher or as the native speaker, it's your time to help. And then the last one is the time gaining strategies. Yes, these ones are hesitation devices. Like, well, now let's see. As a matter of fact, so what you're doing is that you're buying time so that the word can come to you, and then you can use it in the communication. So these are some of the strategies you'll find with your learners, even with you. Sometimes you might find yourself using them. Yes, then the last part has to do with the strategies-based instruction. So as teachers or as trainers, you're having students now. So here we have direct strategies and indirect strategies. How are you going to employ them? I hope you can see this part of, yes, so we have the direct strategies. These ones now involve the target language. And you can see it has to do with the ones we are discussing, the strategies we are discussing here.
Sorry, Stella. It's already
Yes?
4 o'clock.
Sorry?
It's already 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay, yeah, let me finish.
So the ideal one is 45 minutes for presentation and then 45 minutes for discussion, meaning that is the ideal one. Yeah. Otherwise,
Okay.
there is no time for clarifying or comments, questions.
Okay, let me finish. I only have 2 slides to go.
Okay.
So yes, how do you incorporate this strategy-based instruction to your class? So you might use games. You might praise your students to encourage risk-taking. You might praise your students. How do you build their confidence? You might tell them verbally or non-verbally. How do you help improve their motivation? So here again, there are some strategies you might use. And the other one is, how do you encourage them to promote intuition, to make mistakes and all that? So these are some of the strategies you'll find that you have to use when it comes to developing strategies in your class. So I think that should be the end. Yes. So that is the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Stella and Hazel for presenting chapter 5. I think this chapter is quite interesting to discuss about our styles and strategies learning. So everyone, I suppose, has got experiences concerning learning the second language, meaning you are supposed to have strategies, technique, styles in learning the second language, that is English. So perhaps if each can tell your learning style, your learning strategies for the class or for us. So I suppose whether what you did fit with the theory, yeah, we are studying now, yeah. Because let's say like if we look at the learning style checklist, yeah, so similar to what we did in the past, and so my time I suppose is different from present time, because the many long time ago or long time ago in the 70s, meaning we lack the facilities, resources, meaning the IT, different from now. So let's say like when I was still very motivated, yeah, in the first year of in my college, let's say like practice speaking. So I always hunted native speakers, the native speakers living in Yogyakarta, my hometown, and also let's say like uh, learning new vocabularies every morning. So I have to open my dictionary, and also what doing or to practice writing to be corrected by my one of my lecturers and so on. Also about people laugh, yeah, people laugh at you because of making mistakes. So if we look at the learning style checklist, page 144 itu ya, 144 itu ya. Learning style checklist, page 144. I'm not sure if you put on the screen ya, upon the page 144 brown. So you have to fill like from A, B, C, D, and E, meaning the left tendency or right tendency. Like I don't mind if people laugh at me when I speak. I don't mind if people laugh at me when I speak. And then on the right margin, right column near E, and I get embarrassed if people laugh at me when I speak. So it depends on the your what your types, yeah? Whether you belong to uh, what do you call extra fat or introvert. Yeah? So if you belong to what do you call quiet boy or a shy boy, so I suppose you will get embarrassed if people laugh at me, laugh at you when you speak. Yeah? So once I got an embarrassing experience, meaning I made a mistake in pronouncing because, yeah, instead of because, but I pronounce because, and like Japanese English. So the whole class laughed at me, and then I stopped participating because I felt embarrassed. That is not good for learning second language. So every semester when I first met my students, like the students of economics or others, so there are what a motto or yeah mottos like in learning foreign language. One, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Second, don't be afraid of making mistakes because making mistakes is a part of the learning process. Third is please be maximalist or don't be a minimalist. That is my motto in learning English. Also, yeah, I always tell the students about the principles of learning English. So perhaps you could tell your own experience in uh, what related to your learning strategies or learning process or learning styles. So according to the theory, you have like the visual, yeah, auditory, and also kinesthetic. So perhaps everyone differs from each other in learning styles, learning strategy, and so on. Yeah. So also different from my time when you are learning strategies. Okay, anyone, please? Or you could type on the meeting chat, yeah, about learning strategies, your own experience with your learning strategies may fit the theories or not, about your preferences when you're in high school or in the college or in the elementary school, what anything you remember, yeah, and about learning style. Yeah. Please, anyone? Mbak Erwina. Question on slide 14. The style of auditory, kinesthetic, visual, how to apply it can be combined of two, three. Okay, please answer for Erwina's question. Hazel or Stella, yeah, about visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. It is for the one's preferences. Let's say I prefer reading to listening. I prefer uh, what doing something like learning by doing. So, for instance, about you have games or like teaching technique applied in the TPR, yeah, total physical response. That is an example of kinesthetic, yeah, because you move your body, yeah, you have the body language and so on. Okay, please.
Yes, in my opinion, like every students have their own distinct style. So if that is a one-on-one class, I think like we can only focus on the type of the style. I mean, like if the student is visual, we can only focus on the visual activity. If the student is auditory, we can only focus on the auditory. But like you said, sometimes we have to combine, of course, especially that is in the large classroom. Like if the student has a more than like a 5 or more than 10 students in a really large group and then like a extended group, I think we need to give to the more emphasis to on the majority of the students. For example, we can make the auditory, we can start by giving a story, like a listening first, and then after that, after giving a story, and then like at the same time we can also show the video. I mean, yes, so like for the visual learner, they will focus on the shape, or they will focus on the activity that they can see on the screen, but at the same time for the auditory learner, they can listen to that conversation. I think we can combine in that way. And then after that, after watching that video, after listening that video, we can play some games, like kind of like a role playing. I think if we can make that kind of activity, I think that activity will be the best one to be able to combine all of them.
Yeah, I suppose if you could reflect yourself about learning style, so you could remember what you did according to your preference. Let's
Yes.
say like myself, I like reading rather than like group discussion or role playing. Yeah. So depending, it is about the preference or tendency of each individual. Meaning let's say if you like, you belong to auditory, and then you will like listening to songs or the podcasts or and so on and so on, or watching videos and so on. So it is about the tendency, meaning it is possible to combine, but also it's not possible because it is one's preference. Yeah.
Yes, I also think like that. If the
Mm.
student is like one-on-one class, one teacher and only one student, then we need to focus more on the type of the student. But if that is like having a lot of students, some of the classes have more than 10 students, then I think in
Mm.
that kind of thing, we need to focus on the majority of the students.
Yeah. Okay, and the other comments concerning the learning style, whether you belong like the what shy boy or whether you belong to like talkative or extrovert or introvert, I suppose you could reflect yourself, yeah, whether you belong to, let's say, like the risk taker, meaning you don't mind about making mistakes, risk taker. But also perhaps you belong to about you won't speak if you are not sure uh, about what the your correct answer or so like the checklist number 5. So on the left column, yeah, I really enjoy working with other people in groups. And then on the other side, right column, I would much rather work alone than with other people. So that is me for number 5. I would much rather work alone than with other people, especially when I took my master degree in England. Yeah, because yeah, at that time I would say that there were two groups: the lamb group and the lion group. Yeah. Lion group meaning they were talkative in the class. Yeah? My African friends and also native, yeah, British. And then lamb group is from Indonesia, meaning we didn't talk much. And I talk once, yeah, in a while, but my other two friends kept silent during the class, even though it's, it was not the only factor to, yeah, to guarantee one success. Yeah. Because when you don't feel happy or when you are stressed or feeling underestimated, and then you you don't like having what working together with other people in groups, whereas many of them were assignment done by groups. That is in my time. Okay, any other comments or questions? And then number 9, when I make mistakes, I try to use them to learn something about the language. On the other side, the right column, when I make a mistake, it annoys me because that is a symbol of how poor my performance is. So I could say like whether you have positive thinking or you have negative thinking. So when you have positive thinking, so because it is in the process of learning, it's quite common to make mistakes. So making mistakes also it is called what the language in the process. Yeah. So we can say inter language or so from mistakes and then you can learn something upon the language. But here, if you make mistakes, it annoys me. Yeah. A symbol of how poor my performance is. Okay, or you could tell me your learning strategies. I wonder whether perhaps some are fit with the theories or perhaps others because it's quite individual or styles or strategies differ from each other. Yeah. And Farouk, what do you want to say?
Hello, Assalamu
Yeah.
alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yeah, actually, this topic is quite interesting. I do all those strategies subconsciously, but I don't. Um, I do them when I try to learn languages, but to know them like in points, I don't do that. But yeah, we do them when Stella explained about the compensation strategies and
Mm,
the memorization strategies as well. For example, me when learning a language, Turkish or even Indonesian at the very beginning, I used to watch movies that was
mm,
subtitled. I don't know. You didn't mention any of those sites, but I think this applies to the memorization strategies.
mm,
For example, when watching a movie, I watched the movie with subtitles on.
mm,
Then, if I read any subtitle, any sentence that I don't know the meaning, I would stop the movie and write it in a notebook. And
mm,
then, yeah, I keep doing that all the time, checking them in the dictionary. Then I would not write them down. I would memorize them. Then try to use them most of the time. When I was trying to learn English, when I was very young, I would just watch movies and even Disney movies and try to imitate them, try to speak them in front of the mirror. When I was at Cairo University, I would go with my friends walking and speaking English all the time. And even people around us would look at us like crazy people trying to speak English when we're not supposed to speak English because people around us are native speakers of Arabic. Then they would look us like, what's wrong with them? So we wouldn't care. We keep walking and
yeah.
speaking, practicing what we learned in our classrooms uh, by speaking English. We would stuck at some point, but we would just keep talking. And because both of us want to learn, we don't laugh at each other. We just learn, speak in front of the mirror, tries to imitate the accents that we hear at movies and Disney movies and cartoons and everything. Yeah, those are some of the strategies I use. And by learning many languages, I think I developed my own strategy because at one point I think that to be able to speak one language, you need to learn the conjunctions of the language, like and, unlike, therefore. I mean those words help you to develop other sentences, like for example in Hindi or Urdu, even in Indonesian, most of the languages have specific techniques to be able to like use those words connecting many sentences as much as you can. Then you'll be able to continue talking even if you got stuck at one point. For example, you have like some magical words. Use those magical words to help you not being stuck at one point. I mean, like, yeah, this is this is the way I try to learn languages. But still, some languages are very hard to learn. For me, just like Turkish, I tried to learn Turkish for almost 1 year,
Mm,
but I'm not fluent in Turkish. I'm still considered to be a beginner. I don't know why. Maybe because the structure of the language is different completely from the languages I used to learn. For example, Indonesian, English, and Arabic, even German, Spanish, all of
mm,
them share the same structure: subject, a verb, then comes the object at the end of the word, at the end of the sentence. Not like Turkish, not like Hindi, not like Urdu, not like
mm,
Japanese, not like Korean language also. They share the same structure. The verb
mm,
as the subject, then comes the verb at the end of the sentence. And if you want to use a preposition, for example, in Turkish language, you would say something like uh, me, school, to, going. Go, not like saya pergi ke sekolah atau I go to school or he goes to school, something. Even in Arabic, so different. So I think this is maybe I try to ask myself what's problem with Turkish, what's problem with Turkish for me. Maybe the
So
structure is so
sorry for the case
interrupted.
meaning
Yes,
the pattern is not subject verb object, but perhaps
subject,
starting from
object, yes,
object verb
subject,
and
object,
then
then the verb, yes, comes at the end
yeah,
of the
so
sentence.
similar to Japanese perhaps and
Yeah, so similar to Japanese and Korean,
yeah,
because I learned Turkish, Japanese, Hindi, and Korean.
yeah,
Both the four of them share the same structure.
yeah,
Yeah, but uh, Chinese is so different because Chinese almost the same structure. Actually, Chinese is one of the languages that sound like difficult, but not that difficult because the grammar is quite simple in Chinese language,
yeah.
just similar to Indonesian, I think, and Arabic, even in English. It's the same structure.
Yeah, like Indonesian English and yeah, we
Yes,
belong
yes,
to uh, no pro drop, no pro drop language, meaning every sentence you have to have like subject. Yeah, that is the
yes. Like,
English
for example,
and
I
Indonesian.
studied Chinese.
Yeah,
For example, it would be like that. 我学习汉语.
yeah,
So the subject, then the verb, then the
yeah,
object, just
okay,
like other languages.
yeah,
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, this is just what I think about strategies of learning. Actually, it would be more accurate to speak about them if I have the slides on. But I was focusing while Stella and Hazel was explaining, and I
mm,
tried to connect it with my own experience learning languages. Yeah, that's what I think. Um, so yeah, about the strategies and the compensatory, I do that a lot. For
mm,
example, I try to use simple words, simple sentences to not get stuck like uh, subject, verb. Even when I had my Turkish class examination, the
yeah,
speaking examination, just using simple words. Then I give myself time to think about the second sentence I'm about to speak because I'm not very fluent. So um, use some words like to help me to remember the words that I want to use because I still don't have enough vocab. That's it. Sorry, I talked a lot. I talked a lot. Sorry to disturb you guys.
yeah. And from my survey, those who are very militant in learning language in the second language, let's say like English, so they will be successful in speaking skill. So they are very militant, meaning as student, he or she is not uh, awkward to practice to speak English both with the teachers and also his peers. So from day to day or wherever you meet your friend, so he or she would practice or speak English, even though it is
Yes,
a public place and he
yes,
or she doesn't care what people say or what people look at us as the. So it's like the mad persons practicing English. So they are very successful, meaning especially in speaking skill. But
yeah. Trying to do that.
yeah,
Yes.
for myself, I still consider about the what people say because I don't belong to the militant one. When we are speaking English loudly in public and then people look at us, I feel awkward. But my friend didn't care about the surroundings, so he or she is very excellent in speaking, meaning their speaking is more automatic, yeah, compared to mine. Any other comments about? Uh, okay, about the questions in what in mid-test, meaning you will combine between your empirical data, meaning your experience, let's say like in the learning style, and then try to fit with the theory status there. So yeah, your experience will be used as kind of the what your illustration, your examples, and because in for essay question, the point is the your argumentation, yeah, the arguments. So as long as the argumentation is logical, I suppose there is no like wrong or right, yeah, but how strong is your arguments, yeah, to what to convince or to prove your statement, yeah. Okay, any other comments before we close the class? Mas Hakim or Ifunda? Okay, so this is the last meeting for the first half, and then you are supposed to sit on the examinations. So see you again on next week, yeah, on Sunday at on the 4th of April, yeah, 2022, yeah, at
Yes, Bob.
15, yeah. Also, we have attendance for your mid test. Okay, thank you for joining the class and see you next week. Now.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Thank you
Bob.
so much,
Please
sir.
do not
You
forget
will
to
go,
scan the
yeah.
code first.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
okay,
Thank you so much, sir.
yeah,
Excuse
you're
me, sir.
welcome.
Overnight attendance. There will
Yes,
Yeah,
be.
please.
yeah, I have checked everyone. I suppose please check in the. I
Thank
have
you.
checked
Thank you
everyone.
very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, you're
Thank
welcome.
you, sir.